criminology may be defined as a study of crime, criminals and criminal justice system. This means criminology is a study of the causes of crime, criminal behavior, prosecution, conviction and correctional administration. Investigation forms an integral part of criminal justice system. An examination and analysis of the cause of crime explains the motive of the criminal who has committed the crime. This in turn must lead to the appropriate punishment through the process of the criminal justice system. Thus, an examination of the causes of crime has its own significance in the study of criminology. Now, we turn to the classical school of criminology. Classical school of criminology in common parlance is taken to mean old school of thought with reference to a particular field of knowledge like sociology, psychology, criminology, economics, political science, etc. But the term classic actually means a concept or an object which is a class by itself, which is easy to understand for its simplicity. Generally, the concepts and theories propounded by early thinkers of the 18th and 19th centuries are referred to as classical theories. The socio-economic life in this period was very simple with very few wants. Therefore, the concepts and theories propounded by the philosophers of this period were also easy and simple to understand. This is true of all the social sciences and their classical theories. Classical school of criminology therefore refers to the contributions made by Cesare Beccaria of Italy and Jeremy Bentham of England and their followers in other countries such as Montesquieu, Voltaire, Rousseau, etc. Their contributions to the field of criminology are centered around punishments and human rights. However, their contributions did not take the form of theories, but only helped in creating some ideas leading towards criminology with reference to the principles of deterrence. Now, we shall look into the contributions of Cesare Beccaria. An Italian by birth, Cesare Beccaria studied mathematics, economics and political science. He came to know the deterrent system or system of punishments practiced in Italy through a friend, Cassandra Very, who was a prison official. Unable to bear the very thought of torturous punishments of those periods, Beccaria wanted to effect a transformation in the system of punishments. He published an article in Italy in 1764 with a focus on transforming the system of punishments, which was subsequently published in England in 1767 in the title of On Crimes and Punishments. Beccaria's views may be summarized as follows. People are governed by their own free will, which motivates them to commit crimes or not to commit crimes. Criminal acts or solutions may be more attractive and gainful as long as they do not come into clash with law. Most people desist themselves from criminal acts because of fear of punishment. Crimes could be better controlled by severe, certain and swift punishment. Beccaria's article greatly attracted the French philosophers of the period. The article led to a significant transformation of the system and practice of punishments in many countries. The central theme of Beccaria's contribution was that punishment according to the depth of crime. This later became one of the fundamentals of criminology and the modern criminal justice system. Beccaria was able to change the barbarous and inhuman system of punishments prevailing in those times and was welcomed by many European countries. His suggestions for reforms in the penal system were carried out in many forms by the rulers of the European countries. For example, Maria Theresa, the then Austrian queen, made an attempt to reform the 1768 Penal Code of Austria. Following her son Joseph II abolished death sentence in 1787. In 1772, King Gustavus IV of Sweden abolished tortures and other inhuman punishments and also reduced frequency of death punishments. There were also remarkable changes in the penal system of Pennsylvania of the United States. Beccaриa's thoughts created great impact on the French Penal Code, which was modified after the French Revolution. Criminologists like Elliot Manochis and Stephen Schaeffer are of the opinion that Beccaria's contributions have led to the modern penal codes of many countries. During the period of Beccaria, philosophers like Montesquieu, Voltaire and Rousseau were floating the concept of social contract, which stresses the relationship between the individual and the society. Beccaria placed great confidence in the idea of social contract and said that for the smooth functioning of the organized society, every individual had to sacrifice some of his or her rights and privileges. Beccaria considered even punishments to be part of the social contract. The idea of social contract was promoted by the philosophers like Voltaire and Rousseau. The franchise or voting power exercised by the people in modern democracy reflects the social contract. Now, we shall look into the philosophy of free will. Beccaria was attracted by the hedonistic philosophy of free will, which says that every individual is motivated by self-interest. Self-interest is different from selfishness in that self-interest means no harm to others, while selfishness means harm to others. The philosophy of free will, therefore, aligns with self-interest. This implies that every individual naturally pursues the activities with self-interest, aiming at maximum pleasure. People generally avoid things which are bound to cause pain. Therefore, every individual weighs things by their gains and pains. This explains why a vast majority of the people are law-abiding, while a small minority finds pleasure in law-breaking activities. Beccaria viewed crime as an intentional violation of law and hence punishable according to the proportion or dimension of crime. He was of the view that any punishment must be according to written law. Punishments, according to Beccaria, should act as a deterrent against crime and criminals. The criminal law and punishments are expected to create two kinds of fear, namely fear of law and fear of crimes. Greater the fear of law, lesser the fear of crime, and vice versa. Now, we turn to Beccaria's views on capital punishment. Beccaria was of the view that only through appropriate punishments crime could be reduced by creating a fear of law. But he was of the view that it is the appropriate and prompt punishment rather than severe punishment which would create fear of law. Beccaria disliked capital punishment, which he thought was against human rights. He considered that the capital punishment is also against social contract. According to Beccaria, the social contract entered by the individual with the society does not allow anyone, be it even the state, to take the life of somebody, whatever be the cause. These strands of thought have gained momentum in the 20th century. Presently, all the European countries have abolished the capital punishment. In India also, death sentence is very rarely awarded. Even after the High Court or the Supreme Court awards death sentence on an accused, it is rarely executed. At the global level, many countries have raised their voice against death sentence. Now, we turn to the contributions of Jeremy Bentham, who is a contemporary of Beccaria. He lived in England and was known for his prolific knowledge of law, society, and criminology. His major focus of criminology was punishments. He was also of the view that punishment of a crime must be in greater proportion when compared to the pleasures of crime. Bentham's another contribution was that the adult criminals mostly commit crimes intentionally. Therefore, the punishment for a crime should inflict more pain than the possible pleasure from the crime. In this period, the views of Beccaria and Bentham coincide. Bentham also advocated reforms in the penal system of his times. A great contribution of Bentham lies in his view: greatest good must go to the greatest number of people. This principle now finds a significant place in the modern socio-economic policies. For example, a fundamental principle of the policy of public expenditure aims at the greatest benefit to the largest number of people. Now, we shall see Bentham's principle of utilitarianism. Like Beccaria, Bentham also wanted drastic changes in the existing system of punishments. He was in favor of the principle of utilitarianism to control the human behavior. This implies greatest benefit to the largest number of people. However, he did not clarify his idea further. He tried to explain the criminal behavior only from sociological point of view and not from any other angle. Although a number of modern theories of criminology try to explain crime from many non-sociological points of view, sociological explanation of crime always comes first. We have today explanations of crime in terms of geographical, biological, physiological, psychological, and hereditary factors. However, all other explanations of crime are related to sociological factors directly or indirectly. This implies that crime is basically a sociological factor. Gabriel Torday's theory of imitation, Sutherland's theory of differential association, Hirschi's social control theory, containment theory of Walter Reckless, Becker's labeling theory all attempt to explain crime from sociological point of view. Now, we will see the views of Bentham on punishments and prison. According to Bentham, the aim of any punishment is to prevent crime. He was for severe punishments to prevent crimes, but a punishment should not mean avenging the criminal. Bentham, like Beccaria, was against capital punishment, especially the barbarous manner in which the capital punishments were executed. Bentham's idea of a circular prison system with a watchtower in the center was an important contribution to criminology. He also advised that the prisons must be set up in the city so that the people in general could understand that crime always led to punishments. He also advocated measures to reform the prisoners. A number of reforms like reducing the severity of punishments, abolition of banishment from the country, removal of some drawbacks in the court procedures were introduced in his times. Now, we will see the contributions of other contemporary thinkers like Voltaire, Montesquieu, and Rousseau. The thoughts of the classical school of criminology were further refined by the contemporary philosophers of France like Voltaire, Rousseau, and Montesquieu. Voltaire's writings on human rights indirectly created the ground for the French Revolution of 1787. Voltaire was attracted by Beccaria's article Crimes and Punishments and translated it into French. This very much helped in transforming the French criminal code into a more humane one and also free it from the blind faith of the past. Besides Voltaire and Montesquieu, another philosopher, Rousseau, brought out his book on social contract, which highlighted the ideas of Bentham and Beccaria. Some other writers of the period also stressed that punishments must be in proportion to the depth of crimes. Feuerbach of Germany confirmed this view and pointed out that crimes and punishments must be well defined in the criminal codes. These strands of thoughts led to the creation of rational ideas in the criminal codes of England and United States with three features, that is, no punishment outside the law, no punishment without crime, and if punishment is not mentioned in the law for an act, it cannot be considered a crime. In France, the French Penal Code was amended following such ideas, and a uniform system of punishment was introduced in 1791. Now, we shall turn to the views of the neoclassical school of criminology. The classical school of criminology, no doubt, was able to create some impact on the legal system of the period, particularly the policy of severe punishments. However, sooner or later, the ideals of the classical schools faded away. The free will theory of the classical school did not continue for long in the face of the confusions and controversies of the period. While the classical school attempted to reduce the severity of the punishment, it failed to distinguish between hardcore criminals and first offenders with reference to punishments. It also did not pay attention to the juvenile delinquents. Neoclassical school of thought is found in many social sciences like political science, economics, sociology, criminology, psychology, etc. It refers to a school of thinkers who lived in the period immediately following the classical period. They accepted the classical doctrines and ideas, but amended them to suit the changes of their period. This was a common trend with regard to many schools of thought, including criminology. When the French Penal Code of 1791 was amended in 1810, it imparted some discretionary powers to the judges in awarding punishments to the accused. However, the amendments introduced in 1819 did not allow the judges to consider the criteria of age and mental development. The neoclassical school of criminologists advocated some discretionary approach in the penal policy. Gabriel Tarde of South France was one of the leading neoclassical criminologists. The main tenets of the neoclassical school of criminology can be summarized as follows. Psychopath offenders may be considered for lesser punishments. First offenders must be distinguished from recidivists. The situation under which a crime is committed shall also be duly considered. All those who commit crimes shall be segregated from the society. Refined and well behaved inmates of the jails shall be brought under the institutions of parole, probation, open prison, etc. Although the neoclassical theory of crimes was built on the tenets of the classical theory of criminology, both the classical and neoclassical theories were not created as scientific theories. They were simply tenets of the period. However, they provided the foundation for the modern theory of criminology. Now, I shall summarize what I said so far. In this unit, the classical and neoclassical views of criminology were highlighted. These views relate to the 18th and 19th centuries of France and England. They laid the foundation for the modern criminal justice system, which extends equal treatment to all the accused before the law. The views of the neoclassical criminologists are also incorporated in the modern criminal justice system.